Salutations from Wizard Studios. I am the Wizard. We have a lot to get into today. The Gilbert Burns versus Tyron Woodley fight night. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, first up we have Mackenzie Durham versus Hanna Ciphers. And when I was first looking at this, I was going, well, Hanna Ciphers is really tough. When you go back and you watch her fights, I mean, she is really, really tough. But Mackenzie Durham, I feel like, is going to come out and pressure her with heavy strikes and then just grab a hold of her, take her to the ground, and eventually submit her. I mean, that's how I see the fight going when I play the fight in my head. 9 out of 10 times, that's just how I see the fight going. I mean, 1 out of the 10 times, I do see Hanna Ciphers, sticking and moving and eventually winning a decision. But in all reality, I just see Mackenzie Durham submitting her. I mean, she's just tough as nails, and I see her throwing heavy shots, maybe hurting Hanna Ciphers, dropping her at some point, and then submitting her, or maybe getting a TKO. But I mean, Hanna Ciphers is tough. She's tough as nails. She's shy on the microphone and all that stuff. We've seen her go out there and display toughness, just grit it out and pull decisions out. But Mackenzie Durham, with that ground game, that's going to be her ace in the hole in this fight. Now, I do want to see Mackenzie Durham make weight because Hanna Ciphers is not big. She is not a big strawweight, so Mackenzie Durham is going to have a massive size advantage. So if Mackenzie Durham misses weight, on top of having that big size advantage, that will be extremely unfair. Extremely unfair. So I would like to see Mackenzie Durham make weight at this strawweight fight. Next up we have Robertson versus Brock Weaver. And if I'm remembering correctly, both of these guys are Contender Series alums. And Brock Weaver is coming off of that illegal knee. He got the disqualification win off of Vargas in his last outing. Now, Robertson, I do not know if that is enough time off for Brock Weaver. So if I'm Robertson, I would come out guns blazing and try to get Brock Weaver out of there. Because if I'm not mistaken here, I believe if just a few months ago that Brock Weaver had that illegal knee in his last outing, maybe 3-4 months ago. So I'm attacking Brock Weaver from the opening bell if I'm Robertson and trying to get that guy out of there. I really am surprised that Brock Weaver is coming back so soon, because that was one heavy knee. I mean, he was out cold from that knee in his last outing. I mean, he went completely limp. So Brock Weaver coming in trying to take on Robertson. This is going to be fireworks, I believe. I really do. That Brock Weaver is trying to make a name for himself. He was talking big before his last fight. Takes the illegal knee. Coming back soon, Robertson, I believe is going to be a big player in this division. The guy's got length. He is very crafty. I've always thought that, the guy can make a name for himself. I really do believe that Robertson has all the tools to be a big player in this division. So we'll see if he can get Brock Weaver out of here. I'm taking Robertson by TKO in round 1. Next up we have Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland coming off of a big win. He is going to be taking on Daniel Rodriguez 3 weeks after his last fight, okay? This dude is a stud. I believe he is trying to make a statement to get into the rankings, and I am not going to bet against him. All right, so you have Kevin Holland coming in here 3 weeks again. I'm going to say this one more time. 3 weeks after his last fight, dropping down in weight. His last fight was at middleweight. He's going back down to welterweight. Now, this is going to be a statement. If Kevin Holland can get this win, I'm picking him by first round knockout to come in here and make his statement. I'm not betting against this guy. Kevin Holland, first round knockout. Let's see you do it, pal. Next up in the heavyweight department, we have Blagoy Ivanov taking on Augusta Saka. Now, Saka has big knockout power. He took out Tybura in his last outing. Now, Ivanov is known for his durability, okay? The guy, 9 out of 10 times, is going to be there at the end of the fight, okay? The dude has an iron chin, an iron will. He's just known for being there. So, when you look at this, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So, and when you look at Saka and his outings, Arlovski, Andre Arlovski, and their fight, I thought Arlovski won that fight. They gave it to Saka in the decision. I thought Arlovski won it. So when you look at this fight, it's very interesting because Ivanov does have good boxing. He's very durable, and he's going to be there at the end 9 out of 10 times. 9 out of 10 times the dude's going to be there. So this fight is very interesting on paper. Now, when you get there in the octagon, everything, you know, goes out the window. You don't ever know what's going to happen. So I'm going to go with Ivanov. I believe Blagoy is, you know, the dude's got an iron will, like I said. He's got an iron chin, and he's known for being there at the end. So I'm going with Blagoy. Next up, we have Tyron Woodley versus Gilbert Burns, the main event. Now, Gilbert Burns coming in hot, you know, just took out Damian Maia. Man, he looked really good in that fight. Goodness gracious. Gilbert Burns has looked good for a hot minute now. The dude looks unstoppable. The question is, can he avoid the power, you know, that mega right hand of Tyron Woodley? Can he avoid that? A lot of people can't. A lot of people cannot avoid that power. A lot of people, you know, maybe think that they can take it. I don't know. But Tyron Woodley, when he connects with that power, people they go limp. They can't take it. I believe that Gilbert Burns, man, this dude is on a mission. This dude is like just coming in with all sorts of momentum, and he just seems ready. He just seems like he knows something that everybody else doesn't. I don't know, but I believe that Gilbert Burns, is going to get it. I really do. I think Gilbert Burns, if he puts on the pressure, if he, you know, weighs on Woodley, if he goes for the takedowns, if he mixes it all together, if he just doesn't go in there and try to box, if he just doesn't go in there and try to kickbox, if he just goes in there and he tries to mix in the wrestling with the jiu-jitsu, with the kickboxing and everything else, I believe that Gilbert Burns can get it done. Now, if he goes in there and he tries to do one thing, or two things. If he tries to do, you know, anything other than everything that he's good at, sorry, I can't talk right now. If he tries to do one thing rather than everything that he's good at, because he can mix it so well. When he mixes it so well, he is on another level. Okay? He is on another level. When he was on the ground with Damian, he was not worried. He was just rolling until he was escaped, and then just put his strikes together, set him down, went Donkey Kong on his face for a second, and ended the fight. He can put it all together in such a way at 170 pounds where he's not cutting so much weight. The dude is just, he seems to be at another level right now. And it's awesome to see. It is so good to see. It is so good to see. I really want to see him and Colby Covington fight. That is a fight I really want to see. I'm picking Gilbert Burns to get it done. But that is not to say that if Tyron Woodley comes out, and if it's the Tyron Woodley of old, The Tyron Woodley that throws with conviction, that is not gun shy, that is not holding back. The Tyron Woodley that holds back, that is afraid to throw, that is afraid to let his hands go because he's afraid he might get taken down. If it's the Tyron Woodley that gets pushed into the fence, if he gets pushed into that fence, gets taken down, gets worn on, we've all seen that Tyron Woodley. That's not the Tyron Woodley that wins titles. That's not the Tyron Woodley that throws with conviction. I don't want to see that Tyron Woodley. That Tyron Woodley gets beat. Now, if it's not that Tyron Woodley, if it's the Tyron Woodley that comes out and throws bombs and is ready, his wrestling defense is on, he can definitely get it done. He can knock out Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert Burns' toes will be curled, and it'll be chaos. But he will have to prove to me that he can still do that. He will have to prove to me that he can get that job done, because I haven't seen that Tyron Woodley in a while. So John Jones said the UFC won't pay him anymore to go up to heavyweight and fight Francis. They said they will pay him the difference, like in the pay-per-view buys. They want him to make the money up in the pay-per-view buys, I guess. So, what does this mean? Like, we're all in quarantine right now, John. Like, you can't expect the UFC to pay you more right now. They don't have the money. They're laying off employees in other parts of Endeavor. Like, not in the UFC apparently right now, but in other parts of Endeavor. They don't have the extra money to give out. Why are people asking for extra money right now? They do not have it. There is no extra money to be given. Like, if you don't want to stay in light heavyweight, then go into heavyweight. If you don't want to get beat at light heavyweight, if you do not want to tarnish your legacy, because that is the only reason you would leave right now, in my opinion, is because you do not want to tarnish your legacy at light heavyweight. You've done all you want to do at light heavyweight. You've beaten everybody you want to beat. So you go up to heavyweight. But right now, I guess John's like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So you take the chance of tarnishing your legacy. But you can't expect to make more money when nobody can go outside of their home right now. I mean, MLB star Carlos Carrera says he wants his shot in the UFC. He goes on to say he knows he would get beat up by John Jones. Says that he would fight in the 205-pound division. You know, what can you expect right now? The MLB's down. Says he would get beat by John Jones, you know. Goes on to say he weighs around 215 pounds. All right, so says he'd get beat by John Jones. All right, so he admits that. But if he only weighs 215 pounds, go ahead and cut the extra weight to 185. You're a super athlete. You can do it. Cut the extra weight to 185. He goes on later to say that, you know, I want to know what it's like to knock people out and to get knocked out. Well, buddy, there's no better place to learn that than in the UFC. Well, maybe on the regional scene, and then, you know, do bigger things in the UFC, but no better place to learn that than in a ring, octagon, what have you. But I believe that the UFC would gladly sign this star, especially right now. So this would be a huge signing. He would get paid big bucks. I believe the UFC will see this headline. wherever they see it, and I believe they'll do something with it. So Paige Vanzant and Amanda Ribas have agreed to fight in an undisclosed location July 11th per ESPN. Now, this is supposed to take place at the infamous Fight Island. Now, I don't know, what card that will be yet. I believe Usman is supposed to headline it. DC, Stipe was rumored. There's been a lot of people, Masvidal, Conor. There's been a lot of people that's been rumored to headline that. There's even been the Khabib talk to come back then. Nobody really knows yet. Nobody really knows yet. I will say this. I predict Conor will be on that card. I don't have any firm evidence, but Conor has been screaming to fight International Fight Week, and he wants to be on Fight Island. So I will predict Conor to fight on the July 11th card on Fight Island. Julian Robertson versus Courtney Casey is set for June 20th, and this will be a flyweight bout. Courtney Casey's second flyweight bout. She just got an armbar in her last outing in the first round, and Julian Robertson is coming off of the loss to Macy Barber. Now, I do believe that Courtney Casey gets it done again. I believe that this is her new weight class. I believe that this is a better weight class, if you will, for her. She was cutting a lot of weight to get down to strawweight 115, and I believe that, she's found a new home, if you will, and I believe that she's going to do good work here, and I think she gets the W in this outcome, and I believe that we'll see her go on a good run here at flyweight, and so we'll see what happens. Neil Magny versus Anthony Rocco Martin is set for UFC 250. Neil Magny looked great in his last outing. Anthony Rocco Martin, a tough night out for anybody on any given night. So I believe that this will be fireworks. Right now, I am favoring Neil Magny to get the job done in this one. But like I said, Anthony Rocco Martin is a tough customer for anybody on any given night. So look for this one. And like I said, favoring Neil Magny right now, but as this one gets closer, I could change my mind. Right now, put my money on Magny. Vincent Henderson isn't ready to talk his legacy just yet. He still wants the Bellator gold. Now, let me be the first person to say that Vincent Henderson's fights with Anthony Pettis and Frankie Edgar, he's the one that brought the low calf kick into the UFC, made a home for it. The dude doesn't have to talk his legacy. I will talk it for him. I mean, he's got one hell of a legacy. But he can still win Bellator gold. I believe with his skill set right now, with his mindset, with his abilities, he can win Bellator gold. I believe he can be the Bellator world champion right now. He has the abilities to do it. He has every bit of the fire, will, tenacity, the chin, every bit of the skill set, everything he needs to do it. He can do it right now. Now, that doesn't mean that he will. I'm just saying he can. He has the jiu-jitsu. He has the striking skills. He can do it all. I would love to see that matchup. I would love to see that matchup. Nieman Gracie was talking about Rory McDonald leaving Bellator, said that he wanted that rematch, talked about Douglas Lima getting that rematch, said, I really felt like I deserved the rematch, yada, 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 but, whatever. Now let's talk about fighting MVP. Now, he did say, I'll fight Lorenz Larkin and Amazov and those guys too, but I really want to focus in on the MVP fight. I believe that's a really good matchup. You talk about a contrast in styles. MVP versus Nieman Gracie, that is a fight that I would love to see. Now, Michael Venom Page has all the skills on the feet. Nieman Gracie has all the skills on the ground. When you bring those two together, who is going to come out on top? Who's going to come out the victor? Right now, I really think Michael Venom Page is hitting a stride. You know, the guy's, you know, really coming into his own in Bellator. Nieman Gracie, yeah, he was doing really good. He lost to Roy McDonald. One loss isn't going to set you back in your career. One loss can make you a way better fighter. Okay, and that is what, you know, we may see with Nieman Gracie. We may see something completely different. We don't know that. But with a fight with Michael Venom Page, I believe we may bring out the best in Nieman Gracie. You want to talk about one of the best strikers in all of mixed martial arts versus one of the best grapplers in all of mixed martial arts. He has the name. He has the Gracie name. You want to put him up against one of, you know, England's best strikers, a guy that talks mad trash. I'll watch that fight every night. They don't have to sell me on that. I'll watch that fight every night. I would love to see who could come out on top in that. Nieman Gracie versus MVP. Let's see it. UFC is a go for a May 30th card with Tyron Woodley and Gilbert Burns as headliner. Dana White told the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Now, I believe this is big news for combat sports as a whole, but also major for the UFC. Now, this is also huge for safety protocols, but also for the UFC as far as like control of their broadcast and everything. Now, I also believe that, you know, Dana White wanted this so that he could use the Apex facility, obviously. So we will see the UFC go to the Apex facility, I believe now, which they've been striving for a long time since this whole quarantine thing happened. So this is big for the UFC, and now we will finally see them use the Apex facility. So some potential huge news in the world of combat sports. Promoter Eddie Hearn says he is not against teaming up with Dana White for boxing promotions. Now, I'm not a big boxing guy as a whole, but when it comes to Eddie Hearn teaming up with Dana White, and Dana White's been talking about getting Zuffa boxing going, and we all know that we have not seen anything from Zuffa boxing yet. And when Eddie Hearn talks about teaming up with Dana White, and we've never really seen Dana White do many cross promotions since sending Chuck Liddell over to Pride, this would be huge. I do not know what Eddie Hearn meant by this, but we will, I guess we will see. Because he is not against it, and he has said so as much in public statements. So when Eddie Hearn said this, I had to bring it to you because this is big news to me. Eddie Hearn potentially teaming up with Dana White to go ahead and maybe bring forth Zuffa boxing. We will see. All right, guys, that's everything. Remember, if you like what you heard, give this video the thumbs up. Also, subscribe for more MMA content, and we will see you guys in the next one.